Okay. Hi, everybody. Just getting started here. Welcome to the Technia Value Components 2014.3 release webinar. Today, we'll be talking for about 60 minutes, and we're going to go over all the changes that have come in the Technia Value Components since we spoke a few months back for the 14.2 release. So with that, let's just go ahead and get started. So we're pretty excited about this one because the 14.3 will be the last release for the year 2014. Obviously, coming up on the new year here. And 2014.3 signifies some new changes in the structure of the components that are going to change some of the bigger changes that we announce for next year. So I know I'm being a little secretive about it, but just trust me when I say that we have some big things on the way for the road ahead, and we're pretty excited for them. And today will be a couple precursors to that. So who are we? As usual, today speaking to you on this webinar is myself, Neil Phippen, and Anders Axelsson. I am Director for International Sales and Product Development here at Technia, and Anders is a Senior Product Developer for the TVCs. So good to have you guys with us. And of course, if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and use the question tool on the webinar feature. You should have a little button that says Ask a Question. We'll answer those, of course, at the end if there's time, and also you can always send us an email. We'll put up an address at the end. So before we get started, as usual, I'm going to give a brief overview of Technia and our products. Just for those of you who are new, I see a few new names on the list. Technia is a pretty international company. As of today, we have offices pretty much around the world. In the US, all through the Nordics, India, and partner networks that run through the UK, Japan, Germany, and all over. So wherever you are, we can usually get to you with some kind of ease. Technia supports and maintains 6 products for the Innovia Dassault platform. Along with those 6 products, we have 4 tools. These are enterprise tools that help us analyze and profile server data to help your instances perform better and make sure that you can identify problems quicker. These are really solid developer tools that we've developed over the last 15 or so years. We also last year announced an integration framework. We won't be talking about that today, but for those of you that have a major integration project coming up, this is something you might want to think about. We have a XML-based framework that allows us to connect Innovia to almost any major enterprise system that's out there today. Just now we're about 180 employees worldwide, and we service over 100 customers globally as well. And you know, obviously that number's growing. We're very proud of that. And among those 100 customers, we have over 300,000 named users. So those named users give us a lot of feedback. We have a very active community among the TVC community, and we're always getting enhancement requests, finding bugs, and reacting to our users who are very passionate about the way they use our products, which is exciting because we have a very passionate team as well. Our developer team based here in Stockholm is very excited about making the products do the most that they can do to solve your problems in a really intuitive and slick way. And I think you'll see some of that reflected on what we show off today. So what are we going to be talking about today? The Technia Value Components. I thought I would give a brief overview of what those are. And the reason why they're so different is because we build these Technia value components on a plugin model, them to do type ahead and also dynamic searching for the attribute or specific form field that you're entering in. So it's much faster, and obviously it's going to be much more accurate because it's going to limit the mistakes that the user can make as well. So just like I said, we can put this type ahead or autocomplete now everywhere, and we can configure this in a way that it can be specifically configured to your company specifics. For example, if you have any of these specific dynamic forms for your company, you can have that follow your policy or your specific attribute conventions, whatever it is. We can plug in directly on top of our existing framework. And of course, like all the changes that we make, there's a fully documented and supported API behind this. So, for this one, it's pretty straightforward. All you would have to do is add a new autocomplete handler, and tell it where to look for its specifics. So, like most TVCs, we try to make it very, very intuitive to enable. And because we're always so stylish here at Technia, we're just like socks and sandals. We try to always do things really, really slick and neat. We've also made some style enhancements. It wasn't uniform throughout, so we enabled a uniform styling for all of our forms across the entire TVC suite. So everything looks similar, and it has this modern feel every time you use these selection tools or these search forms or anything like that. So you'll notice these nice new, very smooth, rounded forms, and she'll show that off here in a minute. In fact, I think now.
Yeah. Okay, so this auto-completion feature has been added throughout the TVCs in many different places. Here we can see it in action in the top panel. So I've highlighted the design organization in the top panel here, and this is how it looks. So how does it work? You, as a user, you simply start typing, and the autocomplete handler that you have configured will automatically return a set of hits or possible hits. So if I type a C here, the autocomplete handler will return all the organizations containing a C, and the user can choose the organization he likes just by clicking or using his keys, going down and press enter. So the organization is one of the included standard autocomplete handlers. Another one is the range handler that will simply enable autocomplete for attribute ranges. There's also a type handler, dataset handler. That is a really interesting one because you can configure the set of hits or the objects that should be a hit in a very flexible way using the dataset configuration files. So you have a lot of different built-in handlers, and you could also enable your own very specific handler that grabs the data basically from anywhere, index engine or integration, a different system, or hard-coded, or wherever. So this was some examples in the top panel. Looks basically the same done in Structure Browser. For attributes, toggle edit mode. I've also enabled it for, there's a built-in user handler as well that will list all the users in the system. Or the type handler.
It's much faster than doing a search every time.
So earlier, to achieve this, you would probably have still the RDO column in this table, and to connect or relate it to RDO, you would have to select a row, select the RDO that you wanted to have for this particular object. So now it's much quicker. Just click and start typing and autocomplete, and you will have the object connected in the background for you. So how do you enable this as an administrator? So for the RDO column example here, it's really straightforward. Just add this autocomplete handler setting. Point out the organization handler that will automatically autocomplete on the available active organizations in the system. And you can pass some other settings with it. For the type field, this is how to enable it. Simply point out the autocomplete handler type, and you pass some settings with it. For the handler, the type handler, it needs to limit the selectable types. It needs to know which selectable types should be enabled. So we pass the root types part. So this will include or count every hit on a subtype of part as a valid hit. Another example is the range values for the unit of measure. We just want to enable the auto-completion for attribute ranges. In Neil's presentation here, we saw this. Where's my arrow? There it is. We saw this really advanced auto-completion example here for autocomplete for ECO auto-completion in this form, and you can see that these hits are presented in a quite advanced way with the name together with some additional information on this object. Let me show you really quickly how to configure more complex auto-completion scenarios. So this is the actual configuration of this advanced autocomplete field. So in this case we use the autocomplete handler dataset. And the dataset, for those of you who are familiar with it, it's a way of defining sets of objects in the database through XML. So you can point out, I want to make an expansion, or I want to make a query, and I want to filter on only the active ones. These advanced queries that usually requires programming, you can achieve that through pure configuration. To point out this data set, the data set of ECOs that will perform this query and list the available active ECOs for you. And together with that dataset handler, you add some select configurations under the handler JSON structure there, which tells the dataset autocomplete handler to, together with the name, also select the severity and the priority of all these ECOs. And further down there, you can find the render option where we override how the default rendering is made to also include the priority and severity attributes. The result is as follows. Let me also show you a really quick overview how this is working. We have a client-side selectize framework that will do the actual presentation for the end user, and it talks to the server side through AJAX service, and the AJAX service fetch all the data from this autocompletion handler. And the autocomplete handler, that's what we are configuring in our configuration, and we could also point out a fully custom homegrown autocomplete handler if we want to have some really special logic there. So that's possible. I think that's enough on autocompletion. Let me just quickly cover the styling. This new autocompletion fields had a very modern look and feel to it, and it looked a bit strange to have this big mix of styles all over. So this was actually driving a styling update for the TVCs in general. So as you can see, even standard input fields has this little rounded corners and some glowing highlighting and some more modern look and feel to it. Also the table choosers here, and basically any input throughout the system or in all the TVC components has had a styling brush up.
Yeah, it looks really clean now with this, and it's really easy to tell where you're working always. With the TVCs, we package a lot of stuff in the core, and what we consider core is a series of components that makes up kind of the toolkit or the architectural base for any TVC product that you use at your companies. And it's our goal this year and for the next year to definitely enhance what you get when you use the core. So we have a strategy in place for next year to move a lot more to the core that we can, because we think that this adds a lot more value to you and the way that you're using the core of the TVCs. So we'll always have specific functionality like the structure browser or graphic reporting that do very specific things utilizing this core, but we're making a shift to put more of this core in place so that you as a developer can build on this regardless of what tools you have, and make it as valuable as we possibly can. You know, things like collaboration that we'll talk about here at the end are very powerful enhancements that we've shifted to the core. So you'll see that over the next few releases that the core will be getting a lot more valuable updates that everyone who's a TVC user of any kind will be able to benefit from. And as I said, the core functionality is available for anybody who has any of our components. And like I mentioned before, I know I'm being a little sneaky about this, but there's a lot of exciting features that we put on the roadmap to put into the core to add as much value to our users as possible for 2015. And I think you as a user, you're really going to appreciate the things we do in the coming months. So with that, one of the core things is the top panel. This is a tool that a lot of people see and kind of take for granted, but that's a pretty powerful feature of the core kit. So one of the things that we've added to the top panel is the ability to have a configured related object link target. Basically what that means is that I can use this link or any link inside of the top panel, and I can set the target for the reference that we access in the top panel. So if I click Design Organization Acme, I can decide whether that opens up in a new window or the existing window, the first of which is something that we've actually had quite a few requests for, and this is data grouping calculations, so that things can be put into a cloud, more like a tag cloud, so that when we see the way that the users are tagging and labeling these discussions that they have. And of course, most importantly, last bit, 2013 all the way to V6R 2014X. And again, we're working on building more back support in as we go, but these are the 4 platforms that it's fully supported on currently today. So then we want to talk a little bit about File Manager. Minor update here in the background that you can use to select the format when checking in a new object anywhere in the system. So, you know, if I'm checking this in, this can be a generic object. This can be a certain type of file format, or if you work a lot with CAD, maybe we could put an object check for the type of CAD document that it is as well. So we've had some requests for that to do some pre-processing on the file check-in, and that's now available. And with that kind of brings us to the end of the 2014.3 release. As always, you can try it right away. It's available for download at products.technia.com, and I encourage everyone to go and try the new features and make sure to give us feedback along the way, because we really use your input to drive the next version of the TVCs. So we want to make sure that you're getting the very most out of what you'd like to do with the products. I also have some time here we left for questions. I see about 10 or so here. We'll try to get through as many as we can. Does this work with EXALEAD? I think that he's referring to the Autocomplete.
We have not built an out-of-the-box standard EXALEAD handler yet, but we have added the possibility to define your own autocomplete handlers, and that logic could really grab the information from anywhere. So you see, just right-click, or you could have more advanced data grouping in several levels. Maybe you first want to group by the design organization, then you want to group by unit of measure, and finally by type. And you will end up with a multi-level data grouping.
Mm-hmm. Great. Question around the top panel links. Is it possible to support wiki or collaboration links or threads inside of the top panel? That's something we need to follow up on.
I'm not sure, yeah.
Okay, we'll follow up on that. Let's see, we're running out of time here, but we'll get to... do you know about IE support for collaboration?
Yeah, it's supported since IE, it's in the documentation, IE9 or IE10, IE9 I believe. However, there are some limitations in all modern browsers except IE, of course. There's something called web notifications that allows any web page to post something to the browser, and the browser will display it in the system tray down to the right. Similar to as if you get an email in Outlook, you will be notified in Windows without, you don't have to have Outlook on top and view your inbox all the time to be aware of that you have a new message, as you can see that in your bottom right corner. That functionality is not supported by IE, but you can, all other functionality is.
Great. I see about 10 questions that we haven't gotten to, but we'll follow up individually. I see some more details coming in about the first top panel question we had too, so we'll make a follow up on that, and we'll make sure to register these all in our internal system so that we get a response to everybody whose question we didn't answer today. But with that, I thank everybody for their time, and of course you can always reach out to us, contact Anders or I personally, neil.fippen@technia.com, anders.axelson@technia.com, or go to the website. My contact info is there as well. Thank you so much for attending today. You'll be able to download this webinar if you want to review it from our website. It should be up early next week once I figure out how to do it. So everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.